How you doing, Jersey? Welcome to Ledger Live. Later on today, Governor Jon Corzine will be down there giving his State of the State address. We're here in the Assembly Chambers in Trenton, and with me is Trenton Bureau Chief for the Star-Ledger, Tom Martello.
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
All right, been covering these things for a long time. Now, in preparation for this, I did what sounds like the most boring thing in the whole world, which is I printed out all the stories from previous State of the State addresses and looked back at what governors had promised, what they had touted as their own accomplishments each year. And it sounds like a very boring task, but it was actually pretty interesting. And you see a lot of things that governors, for example, Whitman vowed in 1996 that she was going to solve the school funding inequities problems that year. And then you had McGreevey a few years later saying suburban sprawl is the issue that he was going to tackle. So my question is, what is this all about? Is this his governor just giving out a wish list every year? How much credence should we put in what Corzine says here today?
What this is, it's a speech. It's a speech, and it is a time for the governors to use the bully pulpit that they have. They come out, they speak, they decide, they show where it is the state of the state. The Constitution says they should do this, and they do show where they believe how, like Ed Koch used to say, how we're doing.
Right.
And then they give, some governors will try to give a laundry list of things that they want to accomplish. Some will do something, will key on something very big like Corzine did last year with his toll plan that.
There's another example of something that was, here's the big plan for the year, right? And then nothing happened. So it's interesting to look back at these speeches. It's kind of like a little snapshots in history as to what's facing the state. And it's interesting to see the same issues coming back over and over.
The same issues have been with us. I mean, school funding and property taxes. These are issues that have been with us for probably the better part of a century.
Right. And you did a story for In Jersey Magazine, which is produced by the Star-Ledger. And you talked about Florio, another example of this, saying if we don't get our hands around home rule, it's going to kill us.
Right. That was his farewell speech. As the governor gives the State of the State right before he leaves office. He gives the last State of the State. That was his warning to the rest of Jersey that if we don't do something about this, we'll be going down the toilet.
The last speeches the governors give are often good ones, right? You had Christy Whitman here in her last year, and I think she had a choral singers here, right, accompanying her. So sometimes there's a little.
There's a lot of pomp and circumstance. It depends on the ego. Tom Kean had his final speech, and Tom Kean was very good at using popular references. He was the first one, like Ronald Reagan, to have people stand up and say, "Here's such and such from the touch."
And a little old lady stand over here.
Exactly.
You talk in your piece too about how we've never had any great, lofty, classic orators as governors here.
No, I mean, at least not as far back as even Brendan Burns' era. No, nobody could have them. I mean, if you've ever seen Mario Cuomo speak, or Jesse Jackson in his heyday, or Barack Obama today, or even Hillary Clinton as First Lady, I've seen her speak a few times, and she was very good. There's a level that they were above the New Jersey governors. Even Brendan Byrne,
known as a really good speaker,
who is a terrific speaker. He's a great after-dinner speaker, and is funny as even last year, he's in his 80s at the Legislative Correspondence Club. He had everybody rolling in the aisles.
Right.
But he always says he was not a good public speaker when he was governor. In fact, he said his speaking style was once described as the oratorical equivalent of a blocked punt.
I love the story you had about some of the lesser-known State of the States, like John Bennett. Tell us about that one.
Oh, John Bennett, yeah, he was. John Bennett was the recipient of the Great Constitutional Quirk of 2002. Where Christy Whitman had left office early, and we had a split Senate, 2020, the new Senate. So they needed a governor for the next 7 days. So Dick Cody and John Bennett, were the co-Senate presidents, split it down 3.5 days.
3.5 days each as governor.
Each as governor, right? And Bennett's 3.5 days gave him the State of the State address.
So he gave the address?
He gave the address.
On his second, or first, second, or third day as governor?
It was on his fourth hour. His fourth hour. He regaled the state about what happened in his first, what he accomplished in his first 3.5 hours as governor.
Which was what? You remember what he said? Yeah, what he had for lunch, or
he basically said that we're a swell state, guys, and we've done all these. The world has done. Jersey together has done all this stuff, and it must be known that in his 15 minutes of fame, he went on for about 32 minutes.
So should we take all this with a grain of salt today, or?
I think you should take anything in politics with a grain of salt. Right. Of course.
All right. Spoken like a true vet. Yeah. All right, Tom. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see how history treats Jon Corzine's speech today. Keep clicking on NJ.com for full coverage of the speech and the aftermath. That wraps up Ledger Live for today. Keep in touch. Send us your photos, videos, emails. LedgerLive@starledger.com is the email address. All right, Jersey, take it easy.